this workshop is about the role of academic freedom in higher education. My name is Alicia Joseph Moreno, number 4988. Our course is exploring legal issues in higher education, and the CRN number is LHE7005. This workshop, we're going to talk about the historical aspect of academic freedom and all the components that make this happen. We're going to start with the history of academic freedom. Academic freedom was established by AAUP, which is American Association of University Professors, in 1915. The interpretation of the AAUP statement of principles were implemented in 1940s. However, there is academic freedom derived from the German concept, which is the freedom to teach, freedom to learn, and academic self-governance. Why academic freedom was created, and the reason for this to provide and help universities and faculties and students work together, and this is a bond that helps guide academia, helps higher education to establish a handbook for students, their rules for students, faculty, and staff. Academic freedom and intellectual property is the right word. Sorry about that. And the type of contracts offered in academia. Now we're going to go into what exactly is academic freedom. Academic freedom is the freedom to teach and to provide research skills that would be beneficial to our students. Universities and colleges have duties to provide adequate and rigorous courses with the aid of higher education. In 1957, in the case Sweeney versus New Hampshire, there are four essential freedoms, which is the freedom to teach, freedom to do research, freedom to work and aid our students. The misunderstanding of the role of academic freedom in higher education. The misunderstanding of academic freedom, an example of the case of Urowsky versus Gilmore. Urowsky case goes so far, the judges in the Fourth Circuit Court decision, that academia belongs exclusively to the institution, whereas Urowsky wanted to do research on pornography, and he worked in a public institution, and in doing so he had to use the equipment and tools of the institution in order to do his research. Apparently, the governance of the university believed that his research was not appropriate to be done on campus, and it's a women's studies program. So in this case, the institution won the entitlement of academic freedom because of the contract of whatever agreement he agreed to or adhered to in the employee's handbook or faculty handbook. It's one of the reason for their research. So that's why it's very important for you to read the faculty handbook. What are the type of contracts that's listed under the faculty handbook? Higher education practices for faculty is contractual, which is true, and there are different types of contractual. They're full-time, which is considered tenured position faculty. There's tenure track faculty. There's adjunct faculty, which is another name that could be contingency faculty, clinical faculty, or fixed-term faculty. It all depends on the institution. There's also rules such as a code of conduct. In the case of Regents of University of Michigan versus Ewing, where the court decides on behalf of the student because she was dismissed on the grounds of academic grounds. She refused to retake her test after she failed the exam of the lowest score in history, and she wanted to redo it. And faculty refused to give her that opportunity, so she sued the university. And based on the handbook, and because of academic freedom and First Amendment right, she had the opportunity of having this case decided in her favor. Laws and policies are constantly changing. Academia is growing, and there is First Amendment right that leaves room for interpretation. AAUP statement of principle also is changing, which have evolved between 1915 to 2001. There's still changes. Every 5 years, some institution update their handbook. Their laws are changing, federal government and legislation. What is intellectual property? Now, we all know that you have to do research, and then in the research, it's part of the universities who's funding it. Intellectual research, there is a law for that, which there's 4 types of intellectual research. There's copyright, there's patent law, and there's trademark law. Types of research that derive from intellectual property are basic research, applied research, and evolution research. Most research are funded, and also regulated. We're going to talk about the regulations. Who created the regulations and why they do? What are the rules of institutions' intellectual property? Government, there are agencies that regulate these research and guidelines. For example, government and federal agency fundings and regulations for research. And this is under 2 institutions, 2 government fundings. They're entitled Institutional Review Board, which is IRB, funding and specializing in human subjects, regulated by Food and Drugs Administration regulations. And the other agency is Institutional Animal Care Use Committee, that's IACUC, funding and specialized in research on animal regulations by the Department of Agriculture, Animal and Welfare Act. The role of faculty handbook in higher education is to help guide the university, which is academic freedom, and intellectual property should be addressed in higher education handbook. All institutions have faculty handbooks, some sort of guideline, and it's important that you read it and have an understanding of the structure of the institution, policy guidelines of what is required of the intellectual property, and procedures, principles, and requisition in institutions and federal regulations. In conclusion, all institutions have some form of guideline. So as a faculty, future faculty member, or staff, or student, it's always good to know what the code of conducts are, the type of funding that the university is using for their research, government regulations, what are regulations, And all this will aid to what is expected and all staff and faculty. So overall, this presentation, this workshop will give you an overview of this is an overview of what is expected and what needed in terms of research on an academic freedom and intellectual property. Thank you for your time. Have a good day.